Do you like the Dying Light? What about Dying Light VR? Or is it? So let's talk about it. Face all the horrors that the living and the dead can offer in this new, remastered VR adventure of the Walking Dead universe. Travel through the ruins of walk-infested New Orleans as you fight, sneak, scavenge, and survive. Each day unveiling a city-wide mystery with the iconic quarters, encounter desperate factions and lone survivors who could be friend or foe. Whether you help others or take what you want by force, every choice you have has a consequence. What kind of survivor will you be for the people of this game? Explore New Orleans in a free-roam survival horror adventure. Scavenge for anything you can, like weapons, food, tools, and cues. Be wary of the living of the dead, as your audio from your voice will draw attention to you, or any loud noise you let off, like from your gun, of bullets, or hammers, or whatever it is, they will adapt and find you. Craft the gear out of scrap material like blades, guns, medicine, and more. Survive your way, or go with stealth approaches, or fight, or scavenge, or just run away. Test your morals as you make different difficult decision choices that affect the story. Controller and headset feedback. Endless hours of gameplay as long as you like the gameplay loop. Upgrading and decorating your home of homes. Crystal clear visuals despite it being in the cartoony art style. Now, that's a lot of information, but those are just the facts of the game. So let's really get into and break it down why you watched this video in the first place and clicked on it. You just want to get my thoughts and impressions. So before we get into the thoughts and expressions, I just want to have this brief disclaimer. I want to stress that I pride myself on my non-biased reviews. I have to look at the totality and analyze the game in its complete form, from gameplay mechanics, crashes, stuff like that, with little to none personal influence of favoritism or hatred, whether it's intentional or non-intentional. I am huge with this for my reviews, and I pride myself in integrity in them. If I say a game is amazing, that doesn't mean I like it and will play it forever. And it's vice versa. If I say the game is bad, doesn't mean I hate it. That's just a brief disclaimer, and you're going to understand why, because this Saints and Sinners review is a perfect example of my integrity in a review. Saints and Sinners, to me, is a game that I found a chore to play. The gameplay loop didn't click with me at all. It was like I started playing Dying Light, but on Adderall, and everything was just slowed down to a crawl of a snail. In fact, I often would refer to this game as Snail Light or Dying Light Snail Edition. This game's audience clearly isn't tailored to me, but nevertheless, I pushed on. This game has an amazing crystal clear visuals, even though it's a cartoony art style. The FPS are rock solid, and it reports to about 90 FPS, that's what they say in the articles, but I couldn't tell you the difference anyway. If you really care to know the specifics, that's what it is. It's a 90 FPS game with no reprojection techniques, even though I've never had an issue with those. The loading times do vary. Sometimes it's super fast. Strangely, it has hang up, like it's trying to load all the assets when you're loading into your home. And the stamina system works well in theory, but it just makes the game unfun as it's dumbed down, where your character loses it too quickly despite even unlocking the upgrades to increase it. And you're kind of at this standpoint of like being Neo in the Matrix, but you're just there forever walking endlessly in slow motion because you have to save stamina for striking zombies, which is another thing because they pop up so much. The maps of each area are spooky and have their own uniqueness to the game. The creepy factor can sometimes be turned up to 8 despite the zombies being brain dead mobs. But in certain places, like walking through the crypt at night or walking through the school's hallways where there's no light and you can only rely on your flashlight, it does give you some chills. And every time a zombie busts through the fucking door, you're probably gonna yell. I know I did. Or when I turned the corner and saw an unsurprising zombie. They're not the most craziest monsters because it's not that action oriented, but it still has that shock value. Anyway, The durability system is wonky. Weapons I felt break way too easily, and they all kind of just feel cheap. It's like if you have a shotgun, you're only about to get 11 shots fired, and then it'll break, which is annoying to me because it just takes me out of the immersion. And yes, there is a item you can use to increase the durability more, but it's like 4 or 5 extra shots, for example. The zombie spawning system is way too fast. Playing on standard difficulty seems like hard, and easy is kind of like normal. So that's kind of weird. It's like the game's trolling you for playing on easy. It gives you normal, and then it's like, well, this is standard. They just increase the zombie spawns, which ruins immersion and creates frustration because your weapons can break so easily. The story offers illusions of choice, only for it to become the same results most of the time, with maybe slight dialogue variations, but I'm not going to get into those specifics because those are heavy in spoilers. The game took me around 10 hours to beat the story campaign, and there's still the DLC of Aftershocks to go through, but as I kind of tapped into it, it's really just more of the same old same, with some extra junk to scrap. Will help you get stronger, level up your crafting stations, and allow you to get the weapons faster. So if you really enjoy this gameplay loop that the game provides, you can really sink so much more than the 10 hours that I put into this game. But for now, you know, what I'm saying right now is a lot of complaining, some would say. So really, let's go into where the game shines and what I did find amazing about Saints and Sinners. Despite the graphics, the length, the sandbox, and its freedom, the game provides a very technical standpoint of VR. What I mean is, each weapon you have has weight. You will need 2 hands for certain weapons. The stamina system comes into play, so you can't mildly swing around like a fucking chicken with your head off in a madman, because you're gonna run out of stamina and the zombies can potentially one-shot you. There is plenty of weapons to choose from, like snipers, to shotguns, to axes, to bats with nails, katana, etc., etc. You can also decorate your home with things that you find in the game, for example, like pillows, shoes, angel statues, robots, pictures you find of people, holy Bibles, a cross, anything you bring from the outside and you leave in your home and you don't salvage, it will stay there. But the game's physics system, it could end up in different places as you load in. Potentially, I did love building in my home, and I loved seeing how it looked by the time I finished the game. I went to go back and forth, and I get to see my shotguns lined up on the shelves, and snipers there, bows, and then I even took a zombie, I chopped his head off and put it on there, only to find out that its mouth will move back and forth while it's there. It's just really a cool feat. Your crafting stations can all be leveled up, which gives you upgrades like stamina, increased weapon damage, better gear to wear so you don't take as much damage. It gives you a certain RPG feel, but with the durability system, it kind of just poops on it because the game just, your weapons can just break so easily. The main things though is like every drawer and every cabinet and almost everything in the house can be opened, and that gives you the freedom. You know you can walk into a house and open stuff, and you know they're going to be open like you would in real life. That's something that not a lot of VR games do. Sometimes there's stuff there to collect and sometimes there's not. It just shows you that the devs really wanted to pour their time into a VR product for VR enthusiasts, and that's why it not only got a sequel, but it's a cult classic between VR lovers. I did enjoy my time in this game. I just wish it was more action oriented through the whole game and not just tailored for its finale or the DLC experience. And to be honest, after beating this and playing it, even with all the marvelous graphics and the technology of the VR, being able to open all the cabinets and endlessly search and salvage, and everything was being able, you can pick up pretty much everything except maybe a few things like the computer, but you can literally pick up the keyboards. Anything you see can potentially be picked up or swinged at. I'm just not in a rush to pick up the second one and just play through it. It just didn't click with me like that. But if you're a hardcore survivalist, zombie fanatic, apocalyptic warrior, this is exactly your game. And it has everything in it that you need for that niche. Now, I said a lot of complaining, you would call it. I just call it criticism. I said the game didn't mesh with me, but it doesn't devolve what the game does and for its audience. So maybe I'm not the tailored audience for this game, but for the ones that really love this game and it's tailored to you guys, it is the best probably game in that. I like Dying Light. It just, this one felt a little held back and a little hindrance. It just, you know, I don't know. Whatever that noise was I made, that's what I made. But my point is, despite my problems with the games, because all my problems are not technical, the game didn't crash, the game didn't break. Surprisingly, out of all my time playing it, it was fine. Out of all my time. So it was nothing technical, it's just more personal for me. You know, the only real big thing I could say is the stamina system and the fact that some of the level design is ass, and the fact that they put you up against people with machine guns. The difficulty settings are kind of trolly and from standard and easy. And there's certain things that you might do that's going to make the game harder for you, but that still comes down to your choice, and you could always make it easier, and with enough patience you can just push through it like I did. So with all that, in the totality of everything, without filtering in my bias of personal dislike for the game, this is my score. We here at NGI give Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 1 on the PSVR2 a 9 out of 10. Make sure you stay up to date with all the latest in gaming tech news and reviews. Smash that like, and as always, subscribe. If you want to see my playthrough of this game, it's on the live section on my channel. God bless and peace out. To the next one.
Yeah, I want a Pop-Tart, bitch. I want